More often, more often than not, when my dad watches me preach, he sweats and panics because he feels like I'm working my way into a corner I can't possibly get out of. And he's done some sermons, so he knows a little bit about that. And this week really runs the risk of getting into a corner I can't get out of. So we'll see how we do. But know that I'm hoping this all makes sense when it comes together. We're talking about remembrance today, and I'm going to take a really long way around it. My kids and I, we are often involved in sports. I have coached soccer, t-ball, which I know literally nothing about, flag football, touch football, and cycling. And mostly I do this because I like sports in general, and I'm a big fan of the idea that where something you have a passion for meets a need in the community, you can step in and volunteer and enjoy yourself while you're doing it. So I've coached a lot of different stuff, and one of the constants, absolute constants of coaching youth sports is that there are referees in the game. And to the amazement, the shock, the awe of everyone ever, it turns out that teenage referees are only human, and they can make mistakes. I don't know how many times I've had to talk to kids about not yelling at the ref, not arguing with the ref, the importance of showing them respect. And that's okay, that's part of coaching, right? Like you're trying to teach them how to be in the world, how to grow up and navigate things, and that's fine. I don't really mind having to coach the kids up about how to deal with the refs. But then there's the people behind me, the parents and the grandparents. And they start yelling at the refs like you would think there was a lot at stake. And so then I have to go and I have to explain to them that, listen, it's t-ball, they're 5, nobody cares. Even your kid doesn't know he's out. Then you have the repeat offenders that after multiple discussions of why the ref is not somebody you need to yell at, you have to get more testy with the parents. And the line I have found most useful is to point out to parents and grandparents that the kid refereeing is just somebody else's kid, and if you were here and you saw somebody screaming at your kid the way you're screaming at this kid, how would you like it? What would you do? And they almost inevitably kind of look with a little bit of shame, and they look down and they kind of shut up for a minute. And that's sadly the whole goal in that moment, is to get them to be a bit quieter. The reason that works, though, I think, is that it humanizes the referee, right? In the moment, you want to other them, make them other, and I'm trying to call you back to seeing them as a human being and giving them humanity. And I want to be careful here. I am not saying this to toot my own horn. If you heard the inner dialogue at some of the missed calls by the refs, you probably wouldn't even want me to be up here right now preaching. But we have to get back to our shared humanity somehow. In Remembrance Day, we talk about humanity. We talk about people who have served in various dangerous capacities. And when I was a kid, I used to find that Remembrance Day had a lot of glorification to it. And I've talked to people about this because I'm not sure if this is really true, but a bunch of people my age kind of see it this way. Over the course of our lives, Remembrance Day has shifted from almost glorifying war to being much more about the costs and the remembrance of the costs. And maybe that's not true. Maybe that's just because we're young and judgy kids and it's always been exactly the same way, but there's something going on with this, I think. And as I reflected and I prayed about Sunday and what I was going to talk about, I thought about how today it feels like we are living in divided and ever more dividing days. Like we're struggling more and more to come across the various obvious divides that present themselves to us. I think we have cultural divides that are growing. We've got economic ones, we've got political ones, we've got religious ones, we've got denominations still ripping apart and starting new denominations as if the world needs the 30,002nd denomination to be existed. I think there's a way that we're tearing at the fabric of society when we do that. And I think there's a drift. I don't think it's on purpose. I think we just get further and further ever so slowly. Like the parents on the sidelines, they start off calm. They're normal people. They're just people with their kids in t-ball and soccer and whatever. And somehow as the game goes on and the mistakes happen and the kids make mistakes and the ref makes it, they just drift into angry, yelling, screaming people. And all of a sudden, nobody knows how to speak to each other. And it happens through endless little decisions, and we lose the idea that we are all humans, and we share that. So one of the best games I know to make us remember how we are all human is an icebreaker game. I'm going to get you to stand up, and you guys got to come too. If you prefer cats, you go on there at the front up here, and if you prefer dogs, come up here. If you don't like either, then I guess stay sitting, and eventually we'll try to get you up. But if you prefer cats, you're over there. And if you prefer dogs, come up here. That's all right, yeah. You like both. All right. All right, I don't think we need to get into a fight over this. I feel like we can all still live together. If you like breakfast, go on that side, and if you like dinner, come on this side. And everybody who's sitting, you eat, so you need to choose breakfast or dinner. You gotta like one more than the other. Breakfast on that side, dinner on my side. The teenagers all stand in the middle, they just want to be fed. Yeah, they just need food, doesn't matter what it is. All right. Would you rather meet your ancestors, you go on that side, or meet your great-great-grandchildren? Come on this side. Ancestors that side, great-great-grandchildren this side. All right, very similar. Would you rather travel backwards in time or forwards in time in general? Do you want to go back to an era, or is there a time in the future? So I was curious if this would have a switch. It does. All right. All right. Would you rather, this is a good one, would you rather have a holiday on the beach or on the countryside? Who wants beach and who wants country? Look at a switch there. Look at that. The future-oriented people want to go to the beach. All right. Look how popular the countryside is. Who knew? All right, would you rather be able to speak every language in the world or speak the language of animals? You want to communicate with animals or every language in the world? Oh, Charlotte, I would have had you down for the animals. Oh, man. Some of you surprised me. Look at all the people that want to speak the animals. All right, okay. All right. Okay. Would you rather be an amazing singer or an amazing dancer? Not whether you can or can't. Would you rather be a good singer or a good dancer? All right, last one. Would you rather be a famous sports star or a famous movie star? Sports are over there, movies are over here. Any sport, you can pick your sport. It could be lawn bowling. You're in the middle, you just want to be famous, doesn't matter for what? All right. All right, you can go sit down. Thank you for playing along.
Was it well placed? You did okay? If I can hear my heart.
So the point, obviously, is that while we're not going to go to war over a lot of those things, the hope is to remind ourselves that you're people, right? You have opinions, and you didn't stay in two groups the entire time, right? If we went through all of those and literally nobody ever crossed paths, then we would be looking at probably conflict happening. We would go down to coffee and you would be at it. But because there's enough moving back and forth, you have no idea who to argue with, except for the dog people. They're wrong. The bubbling up of conflicts, the potential violence that's happening, what is actually in our power to deal with? That's really what I think we have to get to. We are not, I don't think, in control of international politics, and we are not even in control of the actions of others. Most of us would argue with Paul, we don't do the good we want to do, and we do the bad we don't want to do, so even controlling ourselves is often more than challenge enough. I think a lot of the conflict comes from inner insecurities that we have and not being at enough peace with ourselves and with God, and it changes how we perceive others. When they disagree with us, it's like they're attacking us because we think we're vulnerable somehow, but we're not really half as vulnerable as we think we are. The more safe we feel in our families and in our faith, the more solid and the more curious we can become when other people are not like us or don't think like us. If you need coaching in this, here's a couple of questions. When somebody says something that you think is outrageous, you could ask genuinely, if you have it in you, how did you come to that conclusion? Or I never thought of it that way, can you tell me more? There's ways to ask this without getting people's backs up, where you're literally just saying, I don't quite know. I've encountered various people who say, I've never even considered that. Let's talk about it. And we find out what journey other people have been on. Nothing has to threaten us so fully when we trust in the message of God, because we know whose we are, and we can trust in the eternal hopes that we have. Now, throughout history, there's been many martyrs, people who died for the faith. Probably we're not going to have to do that. And yet that faith, that ability that they had, is based on not being scared of the world or the person in front of them. We can imagine that very few will have to die, but we will have to die to our old selves. Die to our sense of victimhood or anything that holds us back from following God, from loving others, from having a posture of loving our neighbors. The world needs us to live in the principles of peace, the kingdom of peace, reigned by the Prince of Peace. The cost of war really gets avoided when people become human beings again and see the humanity in each other. We often interact on instinct, and our instincts tend not to help us. Here's an example. My instinct is to be more alone than with others. And years ago, I had a music director, and her boyfriend, we'll call him Bob, it's not his real name, but we'll say he's Bob. Bob wanted to get together for coffee with me. And I didn't really want to spend time dealing with Bob. I didn't really know what Bob wanted, and he wouldn't tell me what he wanted. And my inclination was to say I'm busy. So said, sorry, I can't meet this week, I'm busy. And then the next week he said, hey, how about this week? So I'm busy. And the next week, hey, how about this? So finally, eventually, inevitably, he wore me down, and I had to get together with this guy. I had the sense that he wanted something irritating from me, and I didn't know what. Maybe you've never done that, but I have done this before, where I avoid it. And the guy sits down, and he looks at me, and he says, you know, I wanted to get together with you because we're kind of the same age, and I read a book, and the book said guys our age don't have friends. And it said people in leadership don't have friends, and it seems to me your job's kind of a leadership role, so maybe you just need a friend. So I thought we could just get together and have coffee, maybe like once every week or two, just to be friends. I was like, are you kidding me? He said, yeah, I just moved here from Victoria. I don't have any friends. I said, okay. And so literally the guy, he wanted nothing. He just wanted to hang out. Over time, I married him to the music director. I baptized their children. We did a 6:30 in the morning weekly Bible study that when I left, he led for 2 years until they got a new minister at 6:30 in the morning. None of that would have happened if I give in to the instinct to just be alone, right? I wonder if there's somebody you might be able to connect with right now. Somebody who has been trying to connect with you, and who you have been putting off for, if it's a good reason, fine, put them off. Like, don't be unsafe. But if you're making stuff up to not spend time with somebody who's reaching out with you, maybe you should. And you don't know quite what's going to happen. I was sharing the story of Bob. We had a Presbytery retreat for 2 nights this week. So I was out of town, we were doing all this stuff, and all these elders and ministers, and I had to preach at it. And I was talking about this, and a guy came up to me afterwards, and he said, I want to talk to you about a story with the opposite ending. I said, oh, that's interesting. So over dinner, he told me about how he was a doctor, and he had helped a woman out one time, and her dad was very grateful, and they went out for coffee. So fine. But then the elder one, the person, the dad, wanted to get together with him again. And he said, no, I'm busy. I'm a doctor. Like, I helped your daughter. Great. We move on. And he said every couple of months, like every 3 to 6 months, this guy would reach out to me. And I didn't know why he would want to talk to me. So I just kept saying no. We're done. And then he said one time he called. It was the third anniversary of whatever this operation was that he had done for the daughter. And he said, oh, yeah, you're still thinking about that? That's great. The guy said, let's go for dinner. He said, no, it's been 3 years. Like, relax, get over it. And later that week, he found out that man committed suicide. He said, I put this guy off for 3 years. I might have been the only safe person he had. I might have been the only doctor he had. I might have been the only person he could have talked to. And this guy's crying. And he says, it's been 40 years. And I still regret putting that man off. I think we can give in to the urge to isolate ourselves really easily. It is always easier to stay home than to go out, unless you're the hardcore extrovert. It is easy to reject invitations, to not get dressed up, to not spend the money, not take the time. But we don't always know what the other person is going through or why they're reaching out to us, and the more we isolate, the less we see and share our humanity with each other. For those of you who are like me, inclined to stay home, you can try to overcome that. I mean, it's who we are. It's tough. I get it. But sometimes God is using us to reach people and talk with people and humanize people and share stories with people and create something beautiful in the world that wasn't there if we would just let Him. In a time when drifting apart seems most likely, I think the church is weirdly, uniquely positioned to be a place where people can get together, where you can overcome earthly differences. It doesn't matter if you prefer cats or dogs or would go back in time or forward in time, because the thing that you agree the most on is that Christ is in charge. And from there, everything else will flow into place. It starts with our own faith, and we need to find ways to live it out. So I'm going to invite you to, we'll do a kind of meditative thing using that 1 John passage. So I invite you to consciously have both feet on the ground. And feel the ground holding you up. Notice the bench. If you're slouched, maybe try to sit a bit straighter so that you're able to breathe well. You can close your eyes. Take a big breath in. And slowly let it out. Breathe in with your belly. Feel the air coming in. And breathe out evenly. You can place your hands on your laps facing upwards in a posture to receive from God. Here's the promise. Beloved, beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God. Little children, you are from God. For he who is in you is greater than he who is in the world. We are from God. Whoever knows God listens to us. Whoever is not from God does not listen to us. By this we know the spirit of truth and the spirit of error. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is from God. And whoever loves has been born of God and knows God. Because God is love. And this, the love of God, was made manifest among us, that God sent his only Son into the world, that we might live through him. And this is love, not that we have loved God, but that he loved us and sent his Son for our sins. Beloved, if God so loved us, we also ought to love one another. God abides in us, and his love is perfected in us. He has given us his Spirit. So we have come to know and to believe the love that God has for us. God is love. And whoever abides in love abides in God, and God abides in them. By this is love perfected with us, so that we may have confidence. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. We love because he first loved us, and this is the commandment we have from him. Whoever loves God must also love his brother. May we do so and more in times that threaten to tear us apart. May we find the humanity in each other. May we find God in each other. May we be at peace with ourselves and agents of peace in the world. Amen.